Mm, it's a very difficult question. It's a loaded question because material science is, I would say, interdisciplinarity is like the biggest characteristic, and that's why it makes it so hard to define, because it really depends. Um, if you want to put like an engineering hat, and then material science and engineering is more like processing and making new materials and that. If you want to put more like a science hat, then you focus more on material science, and that will be more, you know, investigating the properties of the materials at many length scales, you know, from the way they look down to their atomic structure. And so it is really difficult to define, I think. And, you know, we have chemists, we have physicists, we have engineers, like lots of people from different backgrounds doing material science and engineering. So I would say it's like a big pool of many disciplines. Biomaterials is then a subdivision of material science and engineering that is focusing on materials that are either mimicking those that exist in nature, biological materials. So we try to make artificial materials that will mimic those in nature. Like one example is, for instance, bone is like a natural material. It's a composite material, and if you want to substitute bone, you can make a synthetic material that mimics that of a bone. That's a biomaterial. Another example is making materials that will work in your body or in other biological applications. So you make a material in order to address some issue, for instance, like a therapeutic material. You can make a material that will access a problem that exists in human body, for instance. That's also a biomaterial. It is the idea of really exploiting the cleverness and how nature is so smart, and how, you know, if you look around, there's so many smart materials that nature made, and then exploiting that in order to synthesize new materials to help us, you know, improve our lives, really. So, you know, if you just look at, you know, geckos, how they go up in walls, you know, it's just like they know how to do that, is nature, right? And then you can use the same technology to make adhesive tape, you know. So you just look into nature and then try to mimic that in order to make your life better. And needless to say, that is the same way for if you now think of biomaterials as therapeutic devices, right? So it's a way to improve human lives. Yes. It was so when I was interviewing and I visited a few places, and this was the place where I felt that it was very open. So again, this interdisciplinarity, you know, the way that people communicate across fields, across campuses, it seems so open and so many resources that I think it is really unique. And I come from Europe, and in there it was so I went to grad school in Europe, and it was very much like that. Like I was in a big department, and even though I had a research group, I was encouraged to talk with different professors and try to, you know, get help in all different problems that I had during grad school. And I felt that here was a bit similar. It was very open for collaboration, and I really like that. So my research focused more on the therapeutic biomaterials, so making materials that can be used in cell therapies. And in particular, I want to make materials that have interesting structures. So we will try to coordinate the structure of materials with their functionality in cell culture, and so the materials I make are based on biocompatible and natural lipids that exist throughout our bodies in our cell membranes. And we try to make interesting materials and then use those particles to accommodate drugs or any therapeutic agent, and then test how they work in a cell culture and see if we can contribute with some new therapies and solutions for lots of problems.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So it was not, I would say that it was never really a very well-defined choice. It was more like, you know, a thing, yeah, I did good in school, and then naturally you go to grad school. And then after grad school I was very uncertain. So I worked for a year, actually, in a hospital as a researcher. And you know, I realized that that wasn't working so well for me. I wanted a little bit more. I was very curious, and then I decided to do a postdoc, and then after, you know, 3 years I was like, okay, I want to do this. I want to become a professor. I want to have my own projects. I want to have my own ideas and make something on my own. I think my broadest research accomplishment is really to, yeah, I could say that it was when I got, you know, this fellowship or this or that paper published, but I would say that it's more like when I decided to do a postdoc, you know, after grad school, and I learned so much and I knew so much already, and when I sort of dared to go on a postdoc that had, you know, that the research was going to be kind of different from my grad school. It was going to be more biological, and I was a little bit scared, you know, to work with cells, and I was doing something completely different as a grad student, and I was very proud of myself that I actually took that step to do something outside my comfort zone, and I learned a lot, you know, and that's the reason why now I want to do biomaterials. You know, I had a lot of, I guess, materials background during grad school, and then I learned more of the bio during postdoc. Of course, also focus on materials because my group where I did my postdoc in California was really biophysics. So I learned both, but I was very proud to take that step into stepping out my comfort zone and learn something new. I think teaching is a very good way to learn. You know, many of these concepts, it's nice to refresh the memory. Many of these concepts I learned like ages ago, and like when you actually have to teach to somebody something, you really have to learn things in a depth that you maybe never learned before. So that's a little bit a selfish answer in the way that I am learning something new as well. But I like to teach. I like to engage students and see. I like to see if they are, you know, motivated, and I like to bring something new and put things into context. You know, we're not just learning a bunch of formulas and things to memorize. You know, things have a context, and I like to do that and see their reaction. Oh, this is why, you know, we are looking at energy profiles. You know, it's not just boring. You know, there's like a real application. So, I think it would be that it is a discipline, or it's a type of engineering that really defines your society. Like, you know, you tend to define your society. This we teach actually in the course I'm teaching now. You know, you have the Stone Age and the Iron Age, and those are based on, you know, materials, and it's all about materials, you know, around you, making materials that are better, smarter, greener, cleaner, and it affects everyday's life, and not only someone's life, it affects everybody. So I think it's just like, yeah, it's a discipline that has a lot of impact in an everyday life of humans.
Okay.